Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fitty Sports Network Fitty Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Derek, along with my co-host with the most, Chad Foster.
Just like the very wise Miley Cyrus said, we're coming at you like a wrecking ball. What up, fellas?
What's going on, bud? And along with our producer, Trevor. He never talks, and there he is, thank you. And with our stat man, Dustin Strange.
Hello, hello.
Hello, and I would like to welcome everyone in. Get on in, cozy up, listen for the next 45 minutes to an hour of our fantasy football podcast. We do have a special guest on the Bungalow Joe's Bungo Hotline. We will get to them here in a little bit, but let's go ahead and get things rolling. Chad, how's it going, brother?
Going really good, man. It was going really good today until I got news, Derek. Apparently there was a gigantic blunder last week on the podcast. I didn't catch it until it was brought to my attention today, so I would like to turn it over to our stat guy, Dustin Strange, to explain exactly what happened last week.
All right.
Thank you, League. So, Derek, we thought you were clean last week, and then I got to digging more and more and checking on some stuff. And last week, when Danny was having some difficulties getting into the podcast and mentioned Google+, you said, hold on, let me get this quote correct. No one told you Google+. I would not tell you to download Google+. Even if you can use that, I wouldn't tell you that. I would say download Google Hangouts. You even let me take the rap for telling him Google+, Derek.
Okay.
Do you have your Fitty checklist up right now?
Nope, sure don't.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, I'll tell you the first thing in there. It says, first item, open and log into Google Plus on laptop/desktop. If using cell phone, make sure the app is updated. Open/log into Google Plus app.
I didn't write these. I did not write these.
Huh. You're the one who sends this out all the time.
Yeah, I found this on Word.
Oh, okay.
It's the template.
Whoops.
I'll go ahead and get that updated.
Yeah, you do that, and then apologize publicly to Danny too.
Yeah, this is some good time for some Price is Right failed music. Trevor?
Oh. Okay, well, I'll apologize to you since you're part of my team. I will not apologize to Danny for anything.
Yeah, I had to scour through all of last week's podcast just to make sure you did say, because I'm like, I'm pretty certain he said he did not say anything about Google+, and there it was, Google+.
It says Google Plus Hangout. It's completely different.
No, that's what it says on the second item on this, but to begin with it says Google Plus on laptop/desktop.
Yeah, you gotta log into Google Plus to get to the Google Hangout, but you don't need
So
to
you're saying
download
Google
it on your
Plus?
phone. Huh?
You're saying Google Plus now?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're using your laptop, you have
Okay,
to
we're
log
done
in.
here. Good day.
Well, I can't argue my way out of this, even though I probably would try.
I don't think you can.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and move on to. We're going to have plenty of this week, I'm sure, that I'm going to mess up on. So I got to keep a weekly tally here. I can't go clean one week. I think it's impossible.
There you go. That's right.
But we'll go ahead and move on to this week's games. We'll do a brief overview here on them. So I'll take 3 matchups and you take 3, and you can go ahead and start us off here, Lee.
All right, I'll go ahead and get us started with what you said was going to be the closest game in the history of the league ever in the history of man.
The history of
Justin
the league.
King and Crevin Emmett. It was actually 172 to 113, so it wasn't that close at all. Crevin's OPP play is coming through. He's still starting Roddy White, which I don't understand. Roddy White got him 0 last week. He got him 0 this week. Didn't even see a target. And he's leaving James Jones on his bench, who is absolutely murdering it. Chris's team is really good. I mean, C.J. Anderson is the one that you look at where you're like, dude should be doing something, and he's not. But other than that, Larry Fitzgerald, I mean, I think he went back 10 years in a time machine or something because he's overperforming like a mug. You got Le'Veon Bell, finally got Le'Veon Bell back, who killed it this week, who's going to kill it all season barring injuries. And Crevin kind of put a stamp on it this week. He's like, you know what? I'm the best team in the league. Do something about it.
This shocked me. To the point where Crevin still putting up major points, but I'm more shocked that Justin's team didn't score more. I mean, it was close to start today. By the time it ended, it wasn't close at all. Terrence Williams is a complete disappointment for Justin when you're putting up goose eggs and you're the main receiver. I don't care who's throwing it to you. You should still be able to catch something, right? Clifford Franklin caught things. He should be able to catch things. So,
yeah, I don't
big
put that so much on Terrence Williams. I kind of put that on just their new quarterback and everything like that. But, yeah, he's going to have to find a replacement for Terrence Williams until Romo comes back.
I mean, you can put some on the quarterback, sure, but he only had 2 targets thrown to him, and he didn't catch any of those either. So, I mean, it's either you're not getting open or he just has no trust in you because you dropped the ball a lot, whatever the case may be. But it wasn't close. Like I said, Crevin, his team is just completely dominating, and I play him this week, so I look forward to getting demolished again, starting off 1-3. But yeah, he's having a good season to this point.
Yeah, he is. Finally, all the old dudes are coming through for him. Where do you want to go next?
Let's go ahead and go to the Brown brothers, Sanjay and Amit. And this one was not close at all. Sanjay, 196 to Amit's 108. Sanjay almost scored 200 points, which is crazy. I mean, I would never expect, if you said who would be the first team or the team to get the closest to 200 points, it definitely would not have said his team. But Greg Olson went bonkers. Keenan Allen went super berserko. I mean, those are 2 key receivers of his. If he's going to have not those type of outputs from them all season, but if he gets 20 points from them all season, you got to be like, wow, that's great. You wouldn't really expect that, especially from Keenan Allen. So he really had a great week all around, and that's with lackluster performances from Brandon Whedon and David Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his team, and it's like he did this with a 0 spot from his defense and only 5 points from his quarterback. Now, looking at his bench, he doesn't have another quarterback to put in there, and I think, if I remember correctly, there's not much right now on the waiver wire. So he's going to have a difficult time going forward until Romo comes back. So he's going to need some big numbers from Greg Olson, DeAndre Hopkins consistently to win some games. Now, 35, 39, that's not going to happen consistently, but he's going to need some consistent output similar to that to continue to win some games. Now, on the flip side, looking at Amit, you get 4 points out of Marshawn Lynch and Jeremy Hill combined. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's not good at all. I mean, Lynch went out with an injury, so that's the problem there. I don't know what happened with Jeremy Hill outside of he just didn't show up for them. But Lynch went out, and it's going to be questionable if he plays Monday night. So he may be up a creek here at this point. But for Meat, while we're speaking of him, we'll take a little brief thing away from football. And I think we all would like to congratulate him and his wife on their newborn baby boy.
Yeah, congratulations, Amit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully everything is okay. He sent us all a picture. Aaron looked cute as can be. So football may be a distant thought for him for at least this week anyways.
Right.
So, but if he finds the time to listen to this podcast, then know this, and I will help you out here, Amit, that Marshawn Lynch probably is not going to play Monday night. Change your lineup so that way you don't get a goose egg.
That's right.
The spot.
In the Battle of the Browns, Sanjay proved dominant this round. So now let's move on to Trevor against Dustin. Hi, I'm a realtor to Fanboy.
Hold on real quick, just to go back real quick.
Sure.
I don't know, I just noticed this, but Amit has 3 quarterbacks. I don't know why.
Does he? Let's see.
Yeah, he has the Bengals, he has the Eagles, and the Bears quarterbacks.
Yeah, he does. I don't know why he does, but yes, he does.
That boy was not thinking at all about anything fantasy football.
No, probably not. I would I would have to agree that he probably doesn't have his mind on dropping one of those quarterbacks, but he needs to get on the waiver wire and drop one of them whenever he starts paying attention again.
Let his brother pick up one. But anyways, moving forward.
Yeah. All right, moving forward. Hi, I'm a realtor. Trevor Bales, 146. Dustin Robinson, 80. That's pretty low there, Mr. D-Rob. You got 2 goose eggs from Torrey Smith and Vernon Davis. His high score was Jamal Charles. Without Jamal Charles 30, I mean, it's looking really grim. But if you look at his bench, he left a lot of points on his bench. Darren Sproles had 18. Alan Hearns had 18. Percy Harvin had 14. So he does have some potential there on the bench. He still wouldn't have won this week. Trevor, I'm sure you're happy. Adrian Peterson starting to come through. Brandon Marshall is playing, in my opinion, out of his mind, and a lot of this is because he has Fitzpatrick as opposed to Geno Smith at quarterback. So I'm happy to see that too. Trevor's got a good squad. He's going to make some noise this year.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the surprise team so far. Maybe even at the first quarter point of the season, simply because a lot of us thought he did not have a good team going forward. I was the main advocate of that. I told him that his team is absolutely crap outside of a few players, and they've actually performed fairly well. For my brother, he has 2 goose eggs. For one, if you have a San Francisco player, I'm sorry, because they're just absolutely garbage this year. I'm sorry, Chad, but that is the truth.
I agree.
He should have went with starting one of his other 2 quarterbacks, since your brother also has 3.
I don't know what the deal is on that. We were getting on you for having 2, Dustin, and there's 2 people now that have 3 quarterbacks. It's a good catch there. So maybe he's just going for bench points and hopefully that he ties someone and he can win. I don't know. That's not a bitter subject for me at all, but yeah. So he definitely needs to start looking at matchups, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. But he starts looking at matchups because San Francisco. I wouldn't want to play Arizona. So when San Francisco played them, demolished, and he's starting 2 San Francisco players at that. So he just needs to rethink his whole team here and start switching some things up because it's not working.
Right. And just a heads up to Trevor, I believe they've already said pretty much done deal that McCoy is going to miss this week. So make sure he's not in your starting lineup. I know Eric Decker's questionable, but you might throw in Frank Gore, I guess, this week until you find out more about LaShawn McCoy.
I'm kind of hoping Decker doesn't play because I got what's his? I can't remember what his name is.
Jeremy Curley.
Yeah, there you go. I picked him up today, and he did really well with Decker's absent last week.
Gotcha. Where do you want to go next, Eric?
Let's go ahead and go to mine with me and Kyle. We tied 136-136. It seems like we have a tie every year. I could be wrong on that, but it's what it seems like. And he needed 49 points going into Monday night's game, and he had 3 people. He had James Starks, Randall Cobb, and Mason Crosby. And I was telling you, I think I was telling Danny, maybe even Trevor, I was telling someone, pretty much whoever would listen, I was pretty scared that he was going to get his 49 that he needed to win, especially if Starks was playing. Now, Eddie Lacy was questionable. He went in, he played. It took some points away from Starks, but Randall Cobb, apparently Kansas City didn't want to play defense on the goal line because Randall Cobb got the 3 easiest touchdowns that I've seen in a very long time. And it just jacked up his points. He got 35 from Cobb, and it was Rap City because I have a bunch of people that I'm banking on at the second half of the season, so I got them on my bench, and they're out, not scoring any points, and his bench did score points, a healthy amount of points at that with 85, and he won due to the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I know the feeling of losing on a Monday night like that, and it does not feel good, so I feel your pain, my friend. And even what makes it even worse for you is when you look down at your kicker line. If he had kicked 1 extra point, you win this game. That's all it took was 1 extra point, and you win. And he couldn't do it.
Yeah, I had a huge performance from A.J. Green, who scored the most points so far for a single player this year with 52. The Chicago didn't do anything. They couldn't get past the 50. They may got a little bit further, but not too much further because, Gold never got out there for a kick. They punted on every possession. 10 possessions, 10 punts. It's like the first team in, I won't make up a year because I can't remember, but I think it's like since like 95 or something. It's been a while.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that a team's punted on every possession, but yeah, I needed something. With Roethlisberger going out, it hurt me with Heath Miller because he only got me 3. And that's his lowest point total to date. So,
right, and it sounds like Chicago's now trying to clean house. They're trying to trade everybody. Forte, Alshon Jeffrey, everybody's on the trading block. They're just trying to clean house, it sounds like, and I guess they're kind of, folding as far as this season goes.
Well, they should. I mean, just go ahead and get what you can get for people because Cutler's going to be gone. They're going to let him go. They're going to just, like you said, it's going to be a fire sale. Just get rid of everybody. So that's the way it goes. Kyle's now 1-2. I'm 1-2, and luckily with Trevor beating my brother, he's 2-1. So it's not like I'm too far out from the division lead or at least tying it. But that's the way it goes sometimes.
Right. Okay, well, let's move on then to our next matchup. Let's go to All Milk and No Shake, Mr. Dustin Strange against Milk D's Nuts, Ryan Cornell. Ryan won this matchup 148-110. It looks a little closer than what it actually was, and Dustin said this to me because Rogers got him 45 on Monday night. The loss didn't look so bad. I mean, it hurts when you have Chris Ivory, who got you a goose egg, even though they said he was starting, and then DeMarco Murray's down there who didn't play. So not a good week for Strange, but he's still got a good squad. On Ryan's side, Chris Johnson played out of his mind, and I know your brother gave Ryan some crap about picking Chris Johnson up, but that looked like Chris Johnson from several years ago, did it not?
Well, I hate to brag about myself because I get things right all the time. Wait a minute. No, I get nothing right ever besides this one thing. And it was CJ2K, and I said he's going to have a resurgence this year. Look at this. Boom.
Yeah, that was absolutely impressive. If he can keep anything close to that going, even with Ellington coming back, he's going to be a must-start every week because that offense right now is rolling.
They are unreal. Let's see, I heard something on Mike and Mike this morning where the total amount of points that they beat teams so far this year is more than half the league, maybe, or there's a decent amount of teams in the NFL has scored throughout the whole season so far. So I think they've beat teams by 77 points total, and there's some teams that haven't even scored 77 points through 3 games. So
yeah, that's impressive.
They're rocking hard.
If you look down at Ryan's bench, his bench actually outscored Dustin's team too. His bench put up a lot of points. He's got Rashard Matthews down there, 32, Marvin Jones with a 20 spot. I mean, he's got some guys on his bench, and he had Eddie Lacy on his bench. Obviously, only got him 11, but that's Eddie Lacy on your bench too.
Yeah, it's looking good. We'll discuss his bench here a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, he's definitely got some options here. So
he got 2 points from 2 people in his starting lineup and still crushed me.
Yeah, that Washington backfield that I talked up, boy, they really showed up, did they not?
Cardinals D at least did a lot for him.
Yeah, 28 points.
Yeah, this Cardinal. Well, it's 2 things there. The Cardinals are really good. San Francisco is really bad. So, so that helped out. Like I said, you're going to have to watch matchups now because there are a few teams that are just not good at all. San Francisco is one of them. So when if you have anybody that's playing San Francisco, expect good performances for them more often than not.
It wasn't that long ago we were in the Super Bowl. What happened so quick? Yeah. Such a fall from grace.
What happens when you get a disease named Clapperdick? So
I guess that's the truth. Where to next, my friend?
I think we got one more, right? And you're in Danny's?
Oh, yes, that's it.
Yeah, well, you won 173-139, and Danny had a good performance out of his crew. Besides Roethlisberger, getting hurt. That kind of hurt him there a little bit, but you had 2 huge performances from 2 guys on the same team, Devonta Freeman and Julio Jones. Atlanta was getting pummeled there by Dallas in the beginning of the game, and then however they did it, because I fell asleep, they end up coming back, and apparently they didn't feel like guarding Julio. He went 12 for 140 or 164 and 2 touchdowns on 20 targets. 20 targets. That's crazy.
Yeah, Julio Jones through 3 weeks has the most receptions out of any player in the NFL history, which is insane to think about. Julio is playing out of his mind right now. I don't see any end to it. Hopefully, knock on wood. Devonta Freeman is the one. He put up 44. That wasn't supposed to happen. So I got really lucky in that regard. Plus, with Roethlisberger going down, Danny only got 2 points from that position. So if Roethlisberger stays upright in that game, this is a whole lot closer. Danny did text me it's about 1:15 after one of my players scored. He was like, well, congratulations on the win. I'm like, okay, Danny, way to jump the gun here, buddy. Looking at his lineup, though, going forward, he's got Carlos Williams. I don't know if you've seen that game last week or if you've seen much of Carlos Williams, but he looks really good. Mm-hmm. To me, he looks better than LaShawn McCoy. Now, it quite possibly is because LaShawn McCoy is not 100%. But with LaShawn McCoy most likely being out on Sunday, Carlos Williams looking to get the bulk of that load. So that's going to be a good start for Danny this week.
Well, Danny could have played any other loser this week and won. So he just now there's obviously he could have played any other winner outside of Kyle and lost, but I usually like to look at the negatives just because that's Danny and it matches him well. If he would have played anybody else that was a loser, he would have won his game. But you got a stout team, League. You're looking solid at 2-1.
Well, I would like to pose a question just to see what you all think. What's wrong with Andrew Luck? I really thought this was a game against Tennessee where he's going to get out of his funk. He's going to put up a 30 or 40-point game. And he only had 17, 2 interceptions. He didn't look good doing it at all. What in the world is wrong with Andrew Luck? Is it just his offensive line?
Who does he have to throw to? Who can run the ball?
He's got T.Y. Hilton and Dante Moncrief. He's got Frank Gore in the backfield. I mean, Frank Gore can kind of, he can hit the openings. I know he's old, but
I mean, those Hilton can beat you deep. I don't think he's exactly the best route runner. Moncrief's still young. Gore's old. But his offensive line, I don't think he's getting sacked a lot, but I think he's getting a lot of pressure.
He is, yes.
So, I mean, that could be the issue. Well, we'll see if he pulls out of it because I know he was one of the top quarterbacks, and I can't remember what he got paid or what someone paid to get him. I know it wasn't Rodgers' money, but it was close to it.
I think it was 52 is what ended up paying for him, and I mean, quite frankly, 3 weeks in, he's a bust.
But for 52, he is.
Yeah, exactly.
But who can foresee that? So I mean, that's
Right.
the way it goes. But that is the Week 3 matchups. Still early in the season. Everyone is either 2-1 or 1-2, so we don't have anybody who's undefeated or defeated. So it's really close right now in the league, and there's really no one dominant team outside of maybe Creven. Who's putting up some big numbers back-to-back weeks, but everyone else is either really hit and miss. So we'll see how the Week 4 matchups play out, which we'll get to here in just a minute. I believe you have something special for us, do you not, Chad?
Yeah. Do you want to go to break first, or do you want to go ahead and bring our special guest in?
Well, we'll go ahead and bring our special guest in. We'll go take a small break, and then we'll come back to your deal.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and take a break.
Let's go ahead and bring our special guest in.
I'm
He's on the
sorry.
Bungalow Joe's Bunghole Hotline, and it is none other than Mr. Ryan Cornese.
Now, Ryan, before you start talking, I have a little story. The leaves are starting to change, and it's getting into to fall season, and it's getting into Halloween season. So, I want to tell a little story that happened to me and Ryan. We went to Waverly Hills. This was many, many moons ago. And it was me, him, and 2 girls. And we went there for the haunted house that they had. And we're going through the haunted house, and there's a part that you get to in Waverly that they call pitch dark. And we got down there, and it's one of those where I'm in the front. I think Stacy is behind me, and then Ryan, and then his girl, I think, is in the back. I'm not really sure of the order. But anyways, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. And there's these little things on the ground that we're supposed to be walking to that you can barely see. And then kind of to the side, there's a red light. And I think Ryan hit me, and he's like, let's go over and see what that is. So I remember walking over to the red light, thinking, I don't think we're supposed to be going this way, but okay. So we walk over there and we see what's over there, and it's the body shoes, which is basically like it's built into the wall where they had put the dead bodies. And it's just really creepy. Obviously, if you've ever been to Waverly and you know what it's like in there, it's just really spooky. And Ryan's girl walks around to the other side, and we're looking at her, and her face kind of goes white. And she's like, oh my God, you all have to come look at this. So we all walk around to the other side, and there's 2 body drawers there. And on top of the first one, it's spray painted Chad. And on the bottom one is spray painted Ryan. So that was one of the freakiest things that I've ever experienced. I was ready to get the hell out of there immediately. Ryan, I'm not sure how you felt about that, but that was extremely spooky to me.
It was wild, man. I remember it. I remember very well, and you painted a vivid picture there. I remember after it was done, and we were kind of cloaked in fear a little bit. We were walking out, and we were trying to understand how that could have been. And we never really came to any conclusions, but I do believe the strongest theory was that we thought one of the members of the staff had heard us talking amongst each other and had somehow picked up yours and my name and went over there and spray painted our names into that. I don't know if that really happened or if it was by pure coincidence. Needless to say, we both pooped our pants a little bit that night.
Yes, we did. And I, to this day, still want to believe that's what happened, because if that's just coincidental, that's, yeah, even now telling the story, I get goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was somebody. It had to have been somebody. I'll sleep better tonight knowing that.
I think it was Ghost.
Okay. Well,
That's
Mr. Cornell, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, guys. You guys are keeping it lively as usual, so I'm just here along for the ride, enjoying it.
Well, good. Well, thank you for joining us here on this lovely evening with all these 350 aliens, if that's how you want to say it. I don't know. I just made that up. But, Chad, if you want to, brother, if you want to go and hit our power rankings up real quick, then we will take a short break.
Yeah, absolutely. Going from, do you want to go 12 to 1, 1 to 12?
12 to 1, so we can do the drum roll at the end.
Let's do it. At number 12, with the new baby, Amit Dulab. Coming in at 11, it's his league, but he's not doing very well, is Kyle. At number 10, Derek, I'm sorry. At number 9, Dustin Strange. Number 8, our guest, Ryan Cornell. At number 7, your brother, D-Rob. Number 6, the former champ, Justin King. I'm coming in at number 5. Number 4, Trevor. Number 3, Danny. Number 2, Sanjay. And number 1, he down with OPP, Krevin Emmott. And deservedly so.
Yeah, he's on a roll, scoring a lot of points. So thank you for that. We'll go ahead and take here a short break. Chad, you got this first sponsor, so you're up to bat, but we'll be right back. Stick around. We got more to come.
Honey, why you calling me so late? It's kinda hard to talk right now.
This segment is brought to you by Larry Fitzgerald's Bible Study. He's teaching the kids the right way. The resurrection on Sundays. Larry Fitzgerald, also known as Larry Fitzjesus.
Oh, man. I love me some Hinder. Hinder's good, man.
Hinder is pretty good.
Ryan, do you like Hinder?
Fuck you guys.
Oh, gosh. I knew you would appreciate the Hinder, sir.
I want to know. I want to know whose idea that was.
I don't think
I'm gonna cut a patch in your head next time you get in the barber's hair.
Well, the bad thing is the person whose idea it was doesn't have any hair.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to talk either.
Crickets.
Yep, he's not admitting it.
Trevor doesn't even know about those days.
Nope. I asked him, I said, what do you want to play for Ryan? He's like, well, how about some Hinder? I'm like, okay.
Well played, sir.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to our Week 4 matchups. We'll go over these here in just a little bit more detail. Like I said, we'll go ahead and do 3 and 3, and I'll go ahead and let you start off here. Ryan, if you want to put your 2 cents in on any of this, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and pick, Leaker.
All right, let's go ahead and start with frustration level. Kyle Stansberry at 1 and 2, going up against the property of Tabitha, established in 2015. Danny Mays. I enjoyed the team name. Looking at these two lineups and then just kind of the ebb and flow of the teams, I think Danny's going to get this. I don't think it's going to be close. Kyle's team is absolutely struggling. When he's starting Blake Bortles, now I don't mind Blake Bortles, but to me, he's not an every week starter. He's a bye week fill-in guy, and he's still got Andre Johnson in the starting lineup who hasn't done anything. And then looking at Danny's team, he's got Carlos Williams, who, like I said, I think he's going to have another big week. And then one of his best receivers, Odell Beckham, he's due for one of those 35, 40-point games. So I got Danny in this one, not close.
Well, I'll take Danny, but I'll go against the whole Odell Beckham thing. He is due a big game, but I don't think it comes against Buffalo. Buffalo's pretty good. not surprisingly so. Maybe it's more surprising on the offense than the defense with Rex Ryan, but I don't think he has that big game this week. But with that being said, with with Kyle's struggles, and like you said, with him starting Bortles and Andre Johnson and T.Y. Hilton aren't exactly tearing it up because of Indy struggles, which we discussed earlier, I do think Danny wins this. Not close. I think it's going to be over 10 points or so.
Mr. Cornell, what do you think?
I am going to go against the grain here, and I'm actually going to choose Kyle. I do like Derek Carr. Latavius Murray had a good game last week, and you got to love ODB. But I just think T.Y. Hilton, despite being a little bit injured, I think he's poised for a big breakout game. Cobb got 3 touchdowns last week. Mike Evans has been silent. I mean, I think that if those 3 guys go bananas, they could carry Kyle to a win here. And, I'm going to go with Kyle.
2-1 for Kyle, or for Danny, but well, I mean, we'll see how it plays out. You can't look at projections, but I think we all do, right? Just to get a little sense of how it may go, looking into the game week. So, I mean, it has Kyle winning, but like I said, can't go off that. We'll see how it plays out for them. But moving on to the next matchup, we'll go ahead and let's go ahead and go with Mr. Cornell against Mr. King against 1-2 records here. And this one may be closer than what it may seem. Ryan's had a pretty good team for the past couple of weeks, even though he's only 1-2. His team's been performing pretty good. It looks like you did go ahead and start Rashard Matthews. Thank you. I was going to mention that here in a little bit and get on you about it, but it looks like you went ahead and did that. So that's going to be good. That's a plus. He's been killing it so far this year. Now with Justin, problem I have with him, Alshon Jeffrey's questionable. Chicago's doing terrible. Jordan Reed, Washington, doing terrible. TJ Yeldon, Jacksonville, doing terrible. I mean, that's 3 players right there. Jonathan Stewart hasn't done anything either. So, I mean, he has some big playability guys with Antonio Brown, Matty Ice. After that, man, it's getting kind of thin. I mean, like I said, they can put up the numbers, but I just don't think they will. And with the resurgence of CJ2K and Arizona doing well, I think the Broncos do well when they play Minnesota. And like I said, Rashard Matthews, he's the key for Ryan's team. If he puts up another 20-point performance or more, I believe he beats Justin.
You know, a matchup I do like for Justin is Jonathan Stewart against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is one of the worst run defenses in the NFL this season. But on the flip side, a matchup now that I don't necessarily like is Antonio Brown. He's playing on a Thursday night. He's playing against a Baltimore team that is completely desperate for a win. They haven't won a game all season. And then he's playing with Michael Vick as his quarterback. So that's just 3 strikes against him. Not saying he can't have, a 20-point game, but definitely don't see Antonio Brown putting up a 30, 40-point game like, he can do. On the other side, I see Amari Cooper having one of those huge games just because Oakland's been putting up points. Chicago's defense isn't that good. I like Marvin Jones' matchup there against Kansas City. I can understand Ryan's hesitancy to start Rashard Matthews because he has Jarvis Landry in there, so he's starting 2 Miami wide receivers. But, I mean, they both put up numbers this season, so I can't argue doing that. Looking at it, I do think Ryan's going to win. I think it's going to be around a 10 to 15-point game.
I will say this before you put your 2 cents in this, Ryan. I will say that Kansas City is last in the league for defenses facing wide receivers and allowing points. And it's not even close. The NFL average for defenses per receivers on points for fantasy football, 35.6. Kansas City's average, 63. Not close at all. Marvin Jones may have a huge game this week, so that could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, you're never supposed to pick up your own team, and I feel like that's bad karma, but looking at the matchup, I got to say I feel pretty confident. Jordan Matthews, Landry, Cooper, and Rashard Matthews are all just target monsters, and they're all getting between 8 and 12 targets a game, and they generally catch anything that's in their area. So I feel really good about those guys. I don't expect the same out of Chris Johnson, but I do expect a solid game out of Peyton and Eddie Lacy, and anything that Cardinals D puts on top of that is just sugar. It's hard to tell what Justin Team is going to put up. the whole running back situation in Cincinnati is questionable. Is Gio going to get the majority of the carries? Is he going to get hot? You know, they ride the hot hand with Evan Hill, and it's been tough to predict that. So, you know, he could kill it. He could do nothing. So there's a lot of boom or bust guys on his side, whereas I feel like mine's a little more consistent. I know what I'm going to get out of him. So we'll just see. Chad, excellent point. I was thinking the same thing, that, you know, Antonio Brown, no one, you know, is going to question his talent and his ability to get open, but can get him the ball enough that he can make an overly significant impact for him. So I'm crossing my fingers that I get a W. I'd love to go 2-2 after my 0-2 start.
Yeah, another thing I forgot to mention, Ryan, is his other. So he's got Antonio Brown, but his other best player, Rob Gronkowski, is on bye this week.
Yep.
So that's another check mark as far as it goes for you this week.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, you're talking almost 25 points probably
Right.
per game. So, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, it'd be a tough week for Justin.
Yep. Yeah, I don't think he wants to go 1-3. He already said if he goes 1-3 that he's cashing it in and he's not making the playoffs and it's a lost season. But go ahead and choose the next one, Chad.
All right, let's go ahead and go to fanboy Dustin Robinson against all milk no shake Dustin Strange. Let's see. Looking at this, I know Strange didn't have a great week this past week, but I look for him to bounce back. One of the reasons being is I think DeMarco Murray, as long as he plays, knock on wood, is going to have a big week. Chris Ivory facing Miami. Miami has, I think it is the worst run defense in the league. So look for Chris Ivory to get loose Sunday night. And I don't see anything stopping Aaron Rodgers from doing exactly what he did this past week to San Francisco, throwing 4 or 5 touchdowns, no picks. I mean, the guy is absolutely ridiculous. So I think this is going to be a close matchup, but I think Strange wins. I'll say 5 points.
Well, Dustin Strange's whole team is questionable, so no one may not even play. It says he only has, I was looking at it, it says he only has 540 of 600 minutes available. I don't know if he has someone on bye, but it doesn't look like it, so I don't know why it's saying that.
Hey, Derek.
Delaney Walker's on bye.
Yeah, you were probably looking at that before, and I've updated stuff since. Walker was in my lineup because I hadn't said it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that may be. Yeah. Okay, cool. So then that explains that. Now, who wins? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say this is the closest game of the year.
Don't do that.
Is that closer than yours?
Huh?
Is that closer than yours this week? Because I don't think that's possible.
Wait a minute. I forgot about that one. Take 2. I'm going to say this is the second closest game of the year. Damn it. I had something for it, too. Now I don't. I think my brother does win. I'm going to go with my brother on this one. Forte, I don't know what Chicago is going to do. I mean, they're really, Forte can do it, but he may not. I think that's really going to be the deciding factor for him. Jason Witten is going to be, he'll still, if he plays, he'll be good because New Orleans isn't great on defense, and Whedon's just going to check down, check the whole time. Percy Harvin, I think he didn't start him last week, he started him this week, so I think that helps him out there for sure. The Giants are about middle of the pack as far as receivers on defense. Melvin Gordon, they're playing Cleveland. Cleveland's crap. I mean, they're about right there with San Francisco. But I think my brother wins. I think it's close, but it depends on what Forte does. So if Forte does well, brother wins. If he doesn't do well, then Strange will win. Probably, let's go with about 120 to 115, somewhere around there. Cornell?
Yes. A couple of years ago, I remember I was reading the profile for Greg Olsen, Carolina Panthers tight end, and I read something that will always stick with me. It says, sometimes you don't always have to be the prettiest girl at the bar, you just have to be there at the bar. And the reason I thought of that is because I'm looking at both of these teams, and I'm thinking, sometimes you don't have to be the prettiest girl at the bar, but the problem is both of these girls are just butt-ass ugly. And I don't know which one to pick. I mean, there's things I like about them both. it's like I love the 1-2 punch with Forte and Charles. Okay, I really like that. Brandon Cooks has not been what everybody thought he was going to be. I mean, he put up his best game last week with the reserve quarterback, not Drew Brees. So it's like, what's going on with him? I don't know. So all those receivers are just poor. And when I look at Dustin's team, you got to love Aaron Rodgers. And I do think there's potential in Chris Ivory and DeMarco Murray. We haven't seen all of it yet. I don't know, man. This is just a dumpster fire of a situation. I think it's going to be a low-scoring match. If I've got to give somebody an edge, I'm gonna think that on Aaron Rodgers' arm alone, Dustin can pull through with the win.
I mean, he very well could. There's a couple problems I have with it. Is DeMarco Murray, which they're just not. It's just not a good offense for him. But who's been flying under the radar is Tyrod Taylor. I mean, 20, 23, and 30 in his first 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's impressive, right? I mean, it's just you didn't really expect him to do that. So I mean, if you can get consistent numbers out of him like that, then that's one less thing you have to worry about. And it's kind of the same way with Dustin Strange. That Aaron Rodgers is going to give you stout numbers. I don't know. I just don't see the big star potential on Strange's side like I do on my brother's side, and I think it's the only problem I have with it.
Mm-hmm.
Who did you just say for your brother?
I don't know, Tyrod Taylor? You got to wait until after the show to call me out.
I'm just trying to find these players you're randomly naming, man.
I'm not randomly naming anyone. You're going to look it up and you're like, damn, Derek was impressive tonight.
Now I'm looking at it right now, and I'm like, that's why I'm asking a second time.
Who you want to go to, Chad?
Let's go ahead and go to my matchup then. Myself, the best if he wants to be, against Sanjay Tulab. Looking at this matchup, I think I'm catching Sanjay on a good week. Because if you look at last week, Greg Olsen absolutely went bananas. Hopkins went bananas. Keenan Allen went bananas. And I don't see those guys going bananas 2 weeks in a row. Same way with Joseph Randall. Joseph Randall went bananas last week, too. That's why one of the reasons Sanjay almost put up 200 points. So I feel like I'm catching him on a good week. With that being said, I still think it's going to be a close game. If you look at my wide receivers, they're not good. I mean, I've got Ty Montgomery in there. Maybe Devontae Adams doesn't play and he does something. Michael Crabtree, he's getting targets. He's just not getting catches. Eddie Royal, Chicago's awful. Thank God Julio's scoring me like 500 points a game because otherwise my team would be god-awful. I still think Sanjay's going to get me. I'm hoping my one thing I'm going to hang my hat on, my one possibility is Andrew Luck against Jacksonville. I think Andrew Luck can finally, please, get out of his funk against Jacksonville and put up a big line. Maybe do what Rodgers did last week, put up a game like that, and then maybe I have a chance.
Here's the problem I have is pretty much what you stated, though, is you only have Julio. And I look across the board, and I see that normally you would say, all right, Colts or Cowboys quarterback, that's about even. Well, Romo's out, and you say, okay, well, they got Whedon, you got Luck. You're like, oh, huge advantage to you. But Luck hasn't been doing anything. And like I said, I know they're playing Jacksonville, but the Cowboys are playing New Orleans, who isn't good either. So now let's just go ahead and call that a squash. So you go through and look through it, and it's like, well, he has a lot more firepower as far as wide receiver and tight end in there than you do. And that's where I got to put it in favor of Sanjay here, which is this fucking guy wins. I mean, we wouldn't hear the end of it. It'd be at every party. It'd be every Facebook message. It would be unreal. But I think he's going to win, and I honestly think he won't be at the 196 mark again. That won't happen. But no. I think he's going to be in the 150s. And I know you can make that because you did it last week. You had in your 172, I think it was. So you can do it. I just don't think he gets there this week.
Mr. Cornell, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think it's possible that you could win, Chad. Danny Woodhead kind of puts up sneaky points because he's just so involved in the passing game. And you're right, depending on what Devontae Adams does, if he's healthy or not, Ty Montgomery did a decent little job filling in for him.
Yes.
So if those guys can get you some sneaky points, Julio is going to go bonkers. I do think Andrew Luck is going to have a good game, and Devontae Freeman has got everybody in Atlanta saying Kevin who, because he just looks so good. So, Eddie Royal, not doing much. Michael Crabtree, not doing much. But I think that you can kind of mask those deficiencies if you get those points from Ty Montgomery and Danny Woodhead. That being said, I've got to lean with Sanjay. I don't like Brandon Whedon, and I don't think Joseph Randall is going to put up the numbers he put up last week. If you look at his second half, he actually had 4 carries for 5 negative yards. So, I don't know why everything was going right from the first half, but he couldn't do anything in the second. So I don't really care for him, but Greg Olsen, Demaryius Thomas, Hopkins, and Keenan Allen are all looking pretty good right now. And in our PPR-driven league, I feel like those guys are probably going to carry him to a pretty close victory. I'm thinking 141, 130, 10-point difference.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. That section of his team, from Demaryius Thomas down to Keenan Allen, is what's going to win him this game.
Yeah, it's pretty stout, but you never know what can happen on it. But that would, put one of y'all 3-1, the other one 2-2. And so you obviously want to get that one up, especially since this is the last division game of the week. Or no, this is it's the last division game. No, it's not. I don't know what I'm talking about.
This is the first game outside of.
Yeah. But anyways, that's me and him predicted pretty close games. So we'll see what happens there with you, Chad. I think you may pull one out, but maybe you will.
We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's going to be close.
Let's go ahead and we'll move on to Trevor and Amit's. And here's the thing. I think Amit gets dominated. He's not going to change his lineup. He's not even going to listen to his podcast. He's so busy with helping his wife out and with the baby and everything like that he's going to be awake for 48 hours straight, which is probably not something that he's done before, being he's a doctor and everything. But he's just not going to be ready for it this weekend. So I think he loses to Trevor probably 140 to 96 or something.
Yeah, looking at this, there's so many negatives when you look at Amit's team. When you look at Marshawn Lynch, probably not going to play on Monday. You look at Jeremy Hill, he's had two weeks of duds. Is this going to be the week he gets out of it, or is he going to continue those 2-point performances? Jeremy Maclin had a big week in garbage time last week, so I don't see him having back-to-back huge weeks. You've got John Brown, who's an afterthought in Arizona behind Larry Fitzgerald, Tyler Eifert, who got him a goose egg last week, and Justin Forsett, who hasn't done much, plus it's a Thursday night game at Pittsburgh, so I don't see him having a big week. So I think it's another rough go for Amit. I think his best player, and I'm not joking, this week is Martellus Bennett. If you look at tight ends against Oakland, who is by far the worst defense against tight ends, week 1 was Tyler Eifert, who put up 33 fantasy points. Week 2 was Davy Crockett Gilmore, who put up 25 points against Oakland. And you know who it was this week? Gary Barnidge. Who? Yes, Gary Barnidge for Cleveland. Who is that guy? I have no idea. Put up 24 fantasy points against that defense. So Martellus Bennett is going to put up points. Is he even going to know to put him in the lineup? Probably not. And then I looked down at Victor Cruz, who they were talking about maybe coming back this week. Now he re-aggravated the injury, so he's probably going to be out again. So This is not going to be close. Trevor, I think you pull this one out. It's going to be 50, 60 points. It's going to be a huge number.
You don't think the red-headed water pistol will put up some big points for me?
I do. I think he will. I think he'll have a similar game to what he had last week. He'll have a big number, but it's not going to be enough.
All right. Well, RC, what do you think?
I got to agree. Amit's team is doing nothing but trending downward. There's nothing you like about any of these guys. There's just nothing. I mean, maybe Eifert puts in a big game after his goose egg last week, but Forsett has just not been what people thought he was going to be. Baltimore's kind of struggling all around, but you're right, Chad. I'm with you 100%. Trevor's going to just beat the shit out of Amit, and it's not going to be fun to watch. I'm going to look away.
You gotta start thinking about Forsett now. Was he just a one-hit wonder?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he was. There's a lot of factors involved in it, but he's not shown anything else. So, yeah, maybe he was a one-hit wonder.
Right. Yeah, I think he was.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the last matchup, which is me versus Krevin. I'll go ahead and speak about it first, and I think I will lose, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm missing two. Well, there's a lot involved on this one. Des Bryant's out, right? So we all know that. Arian Foster is a game time decision. Not like, hey, let's go out here and warm up, you're starting. It's going to be, hey, go out here and warm up, let me decide then if you're starting or not. So I got Alfred Blue in for him just in case, who had a really good week last week. And I also picked up the Raiders defense because Chicago is crap. Picked up their kicker as well because Chicago is crap. I even picked up Thomas Rawls, who is a Seattle running back, because Marshawn Lynch is out. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's going to give me any points. It's just I'm playing matchups at this point in time because that's all I have with my injuries. I got Des Bryant, who's going to be coming back late. I'm holding on to LaFell because the Patriots really don't have any receivers, like great receivers, and LaFell is a pretty good receiver, so I'm hanging on to him. And if I can get Foster back and if Gurley can get some more action, then I'm looking at more points. But right now, with how I have it, in the way that Krevin's been performing, he's going to beat me. Even if I have a good day, like 130, it still won't be enough. I think he's still above the 150 because everyone on his team has AARP cards, and they're just destroying it this year.
Here's the good news, Derek. I think Phillip Rivers has a big week against Cleveland. I think he puts you up a big number. You've got Alfred Blue and Arian Foster going against that Atlanta defense that Joseph Randle shredded last week. And my personal opinion, I think they're both better than Joseph Randle. You have a great pickup there in Thomas Rawls for Marshawn Lynch, who had a good week last week after Marshawn went down. And without Marshawn probably not playing, I think Rawls has a good week. A.J. Green's going to put up another big number. Jimmy Graham's going to have a big week. Here's the bad news. You're still going to lose, and it's still going to be a pretty healthy loss. Cam Newton has been murdering it these last couple games. And against Tampa Bay, he's going to do the exact same. Le'Veon Bell, while it's a Thursday night game, I don't normally like Thursday games. I still think he has a big game because he's fresh, because it's his second game back. I don't see any fall off for Steve Smith. I think Emmanuel Sanders has a great game. I mean, he's got a team right now that is just, they're hot. And you're playing them at the wrong time of the season, and it looks like he's taking Roddy White out of his lineup. So kudos to Krevin. I think Krevin gets a big win.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure Vic's going to be the starting quarterback for the Steelers. So, I mean, it looks good for me with Heath Miller because there's going to be a lot of dump off, especially since he likes to roll out of the pocket. Tight ends are usually streaking across the field. But they're going to just run Le'Veon all day. I mean, just because it's really your best option at this point. So, yeah, he destroys me.
Slow the game down and give it to your best player on the field.
Right. Ryan, give me some good news. What do you think?
Bad news for you, buddy. Yeah, Chris is gonna win this. Le'Veon caught 7 dump passes for 70 yards last week, and we're gonna see a ton of that as they've lost Roethlisberger. Steve Smith Sr. and Larry Fitzgerald have found the fountain of youth, so we need to figure out where these guys are going and what cup they're drinking from, because just a total resurgence, and I'm speechless. You know, guys. Justin King sent me an email a few weeks ago. I didn't look at it immediately. It goes a spreadsheet in the Tree City League since its genesis and what everyone's records have been. And everyone has pretty subpar, explainable records, except for Chris Brott. And this guy has an unusually high winning record. And it leaves you scratching your head because every year, Chris, I know you're listening to this, and I know you only listen to just your bits about your game, so you're going to hear this. Your drafts are so terrible that everyone just sits there and shakes their head, and we're like, what the hell is wrong with Chris Brott? And Kevin doesn't even know what's going on, so he's not, he's not even a factor.
Sorry.
But Chris, I just want to say, man, I don't know how you done it, and we're all really impressed. We're all real impressed, Chris. But you do it every year, man, and I don't know if it's you're living right or you've got the Back to the Future almanac that Marty McFly and Biff took back to their past self and ended up making $1 million on games that they knew were going to happen. But Biff, I know you got the almanac, So share the love because we could all benefit.
Well, the only thing that,
Kudos, sir. Well
I don't know
said.
if I don't know if Le'Veon catches that many out of the backfield, and here's why. Sources have told me that he really likes running to his right out of the backfield, which is easy for right-handed throwers like Roethlisberger to dump off. With Vic having to throw across his body, now they're going to have to make him run left, which he's not as natural to do. So he may not catch as many balls out of the backfield this week. So he may be just surely running through the A and B gaps.
Derek, that is an interesting little nugget of information. Kudos on that, man.
That's a stretch there, Mr. Robinson. Now, let me ask you this honest question here, Cornell. I know Crevin's team's hot right now. There's some older dudes on that team. Can they sustain this through the fantasy playoffs? So through week 12, 13, 14, can they sustain this kind of play?
No, I don't believe so. Steve Smith Sr. slowed down significantly around week 8 last year, and we're going to see that again. I mean, he plays angry, he plays with a lot of heart, and it's just going to wear on him. Fitzgerald, maybe. But, you know, another big concern is what's going on in the backfield in Denver. You know, C.J. Anderson was projected top 6 pick in snake draft into the season, and I was like, man, that is not a good pick because Hillman's still there. You know, you got that big fullback guy that can plow in the end zone.
Yes.
And he's just not going to get the production that he paid for from that spot. And you're right. These guys are going to age. And I think he's going to be hurting. But he has proved us wrong every year, much to my dismay. So it might happen again.
Yeah, he is the only 2-time champ, right?
Danny.
Danny, that's right. Danny is. Well, there you go. You're just ruining Dustin's fun here. You could have proved me wrong on that as well. Yeah, I don't know how Crevin does it. It's baffling to me.
Ryan's right. It's every year. Every year he does it.
It is. But that's our Week 4 matchups. Hopefully you agree with them if we chose you, and if you don't agree with it, you can get the F over it, and you'll just listen to the next segment, which we're moving on to. Chadwick, you want to update us on injuries?
All right. For the injuries this week, of course, we've got Big Ben going down with the MCL injury, out 4 to 6 weeks. It's going to have a lot of effect on a lot of guys. You got Drew Brees and Victor Cruz, who are both set to play Sunday until Victor Cruz re-aggravated his injury. They're still kind of being quiet on Brees. He's supposed to be testing his arm today and tomorrow, so I guess we'll see how that goes. Obviously, we've talked about it. Marshawn Lynch dealing with a hamstring injury, and then Sammy Watkins dealing with his calf injury, so that's something to keep an eye on as well.
All right. Well, thank you for the updates there. We'll go ahead and move on to the waivers, and I'll briefly touch on that. I picked up a few guys which I spoke on during our Week 4 matchups for me. With these injuries, there are some key pickups that you can get. It may not be, the second receiver going to the first receiver like Terrence Williams, for an example, but there's guys to be picked up out there, and you definitely have to play the matchups now because we've pretty much drained this hole already. The waiver wire pretty dry. There's not a lot of key people out there at this point that you feel comfortable in picking up and playing. So you definitely have to play the matchups, which is what I'm doing for defenses a lot now, even with kickers potentially. But there are some teams that are terrible against the run or terrible against the pass, and you may have to play certain guys you wouldn't typically think of playing just simply for that reason. So you definitely have to go out there and look on the waiver wire. I know some people, there's been moves being made. I think I've made the most out of this whole season so far. I believe I'm right around the 17, 18 player mark as far as picking up. So.
Yeah, there's two guys that I noticed. One that you've already picked up. One is Thomas Rawls, the running back there in Seattle behind Marshawn Lynch. The other one hasn't been picked up yet, possibly because they have a bye week this week, is Antonio Andrews for Tennessee. He actually looked pretty good this week, so I see him getting picked up possibly next week before next Sunday's games. Ryan, did you see anybody else out there that we missed that possibly could be a big pickup?
I did not.
Okay.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and take a very short break here. We just got a few more things after this break to go over, and we'll get you on your way. But if you don't mind, hang out here for a minute, listen to small music, and then we'll go and start the next segment.
I just wanna be alone tonight. I just wanna take a little.
All right, and this segment is brought to you by King's Ranch Farms. They have the best milk in the land with 6 different flavors of milk. They have whole milk, 1%, 2%, fat-free, organic, and lactose-free milk. Go pick up some King's Ranch Farms milk at your local grocery store today.
So many different flavors.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm glad that it's not just plain white milk. That would be so boring.
Oh gosh, that's awesome. I need a bread sponsor too. Just by the way.
Yeah, it would. We'll get one in there. I'm sure. I think they want to be on next week.
That sounds good. What do we got next? The tree 50-second drill?
We got the tree 50-second drill, and I'll let you start us out here.
Sounds good, Mr.
Ryan,
Cordell.
basically what we're going to do, Ryan, is we're going to ask you 10 questions, 5 each from each person. And you have 10 seconds to answer each question. If you don't, we're gonging you and we're moving on.
Okay.
Are
I'm
you ready, sir? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First question. Who is the one player that you regret drafting?
Oh my God.
All right. If you could play any sport,
No regrets.
what sport would it be? Any sport.
Lacrosse.
Interesting. The one player in all of fantasy that you wish you had on your team is
Julio!
Julio Jones.
I'd take him for $1.
He's always available at $1. What do you think your final record will be by the end of the year?
How many games do we play?
Well, we play 12. If you or 13 or 12, something around there.
7-5.
Anywhere from 10 to 16. What do you think your record's going to be? All right. So, Ryan, who do you think has the best haircut in the NFL?
Oh, man. As much as I hate to do, Jay Cutler's got some pretty good locks.
Oh, wow.
Do you think the Cincinnati Bengals will make it to the playoffs this year?
Yes. Yes, I do. And then they're going to break our hearts again.
What is the first CD that you've ever owned?
Why would you make me do this? It was Hanson.
Bop!
Bop.
And let me just ask you one thing. Can I buy you a fish sandwich?
I don't know. I really don't want a fish sandwich, Derek.
Okay, last question from me. Who is going to win Kyle's League this year?
It is going to be me, boys.
Ooh.
It's a bold statement there, Cotton.
I like
That's
it.
right.
All right, and last but not least, I have nothing. You passed the 350-second drill. Good job.
Okay, let me go back to the first question because I forgot who was on my roster because I had too many teams. The one player I regret drafting most is Alfred Morris. That's it.
Well, I'll be sure to send him a
Good one.
tweet and let him know that you're disappointed in his effort this year.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, so let's go ahead and we'll move on to our last segment of the show. It's the bold start.
Dumb bench.
All right, and Lear, do you have any bold starts for this week?
I do. The one bold start that I really found that kind of stood out to me was your brother starting Brandon Cooks, who has not had a good season up to this point. And he's starting him without Drew Brees, and he actually put up, decent. It wasn't a great game by any means, but it was a decent game. 7 catches for 79 yards, so 14 fantasy points, not bad. I believe you have one as well. Who was yours, Derek?
For a bold start?
Yes, you had a bold start that you had told me about earlier.
Travis Benjamin?
Was it?
I don't know. I don't either. I don't know who in the hell you're talking about. That's about the only one that.
Okay.
Way to do your homework.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, who's the dumb bench?
The dumb benches, starting off with Creven. Benching James Jones, who has been killing it this year. And like you said, he was starting Roddy White for some ungodly reason, which he has fixed. Thank you, Creven, for doing that, because I was going to have to smack you the next time I seen you, or next time I seen Kevin. I was going to smack him for not telling you. The other one is our special guest, none other than Ryan Cornell. He benched or did not start Rashad Matthews. Rashad Matthews has been killing it this year. I don't know how many weeks you needed for him to prove that to you, but apparently it was 3 because you started him this week. With 13, 19, and 32, he's been a main target of the quarterback, can't remember his damn name, out of Miami.
Ryan Tannehill.
There you go, thank you. And you finally started him. But those are my 2 dumb benches.
Ryan, do you want to rebuttal that?
Yeah, Derek, you're a butthead, and I picked up Rashard Matthews like last week, so he's only been on my bench 1 week, and I would appreciate it if you would say you're sorry for everything
No, I'm not saying sorry. Why'd you pick him up?
Huh?
Why'd you pick him up?
Because I had a hunch, and my hunch was right, and then I'm going to beat your ass with him when I play you.
You had a hunch, and your hunch was, I'm going to pick him up and put him on the bench so you can put 32 on the bench for me.
Hey, in Ryan's
Yeah, I don't have a
defense,
crystal
it
ball,
didn't matter.
okay?
He didn't need him because I suck.
Yeah. Lestrange said, yeah.
Bam.
I'll tell you all a funny little tidbit on Roddy White. I read his little bio or whatever on ESPN today, and it said at the very bottom, not kidding, it said, unusable in all fantasy formats. And I'm like, that's the guy that Chris has started for 2 weeks. Like, okay.
He's proven a point that he doesn't need him.
Yeah, I guess he wants that 0 spot to be like, look, I had a guy that scored 0, and I still beat you by 100.
All right, well, that's it. We got one last thing, which is our roundtable topics, pretty much open mic. Ask any questions that you want. I know one thing that I want to bring up, which was a hot topic at work, was the IR spot in the Dynasty League, which I am not in, but the rest of you are. And I know with Justin King had a big issue with it, and he was super butthurt about it. So, Chad, what's your feelings on that?
Well, I was going to say, let Ryan, before we give him our side, let's let him kind of give us his side as far as what he thinks. Did you see that thing on Facebook about the IR spot in the Dynasty League, Ryan?
I saw it briefly earlier, but I have not read the entire thing nor everyone's comments.
So to kind of give you a synopsis to get your opinion is the IR spot, there's 2 IR spots in our Dynasty League. And what happens is, so we put somebody in our IR spot who's hurt, who has an out label or status. And once they're upgraded to say questionable, the site in no way prompts you to take them out of your IR spot. So you can keep them on your roster without ever dropping anybody and putting them back in your active lineup when they're questionable. So the argument essentially was you should have to move them out of your IR spot once they're no longer out, once they're questionable or upgraded to probable, whatever, what have you. You have to move them out and then drop somebody that's in your active roster to keep them on your team. And basically we have to police it ourselves. But what's your feelings on that?
I mean, I would have to say I agree. The IR spot in my mind is reserved for someone that has no chance of playing. So if someone is questionable or practicing in a game-time decision, they don't deserve to be in the IR spot. And, yeah, you should be forced to make a decision to drop someone if you do want to keep them on your roster.
Now, here's the only exception to the rule in which I rebutted to Justin on, and he said there was no exception to the rule until I made this point. Now, for me, like in Kyle's league here, I got Arian Foster, and what Texas has been doing, or the Texans, have been doing, what Houston's been doing, is that on Monday and Tuesday of the week, he's out. He's listed as out, okay? So that means he could be on the IR spot. But what they do on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, even leading up to the game time, is they change him to questionable. Well, if he doesn't play on Sunday or whenever they give the last update if they're playing or not, they list him as out again. So what that'll do is that can screw you if you say that he's questionable. Now you got to put him in your lineup. Now I got to take out someone who could potentially play, and then now Arian Foster's back out again. He goes back down to my IR, and I'm missing out on a guy. So
well, that's what you signed up for, in my opinion. You know, we know the guy's practicing, so we know the guy has a possibility of playing. So he's no longer IR eligible in my mind. But hey, that's pretty subjective. right? And that's the trouble with it.
Well, right, exactly. And I just think, and that was my only rebuttal. I mean, I understood exactly where he was coming from and where other people were on his side, like Chad and everyone was coming from. I completely agree. You can't just have a guy who's questionable. He plays one week, he's questionable, and you put him down there in the IR spot. That's not what it's for. But if the guy's out, he's been out the prior week, and then he's questionable, and then he's out again, I don't see why you can't leave the guy there until he actually plays a game. Anyways, or is listed active that he's going to play.
Now, Dustin, you're in the league too, so I want to kind of get your thoughts on this as well. Where do you stand on this, Dustin?
I think our producer, who will remain speechless, believes that if they're even doubtful or questionable, they should be able to be on that IR spot. I think that's just because he's cheating and taking advantage of that, but since he can't defend himself because he refuses to speak, we can just bash him. He'll probably cut it out later. But anyway, no, I agree with what Mr. Cornell says on it. It's like, I have Tony Romo in my IR spot, and I put it out there, hey, if I happen to miss it, let me know, because I don't want to take advantage of that or anything. My understanding of the IR spot is if they're out, and I wouldn't even say like, oh.
Cool story, Dustin. You just went on mute again.
Hello?
You just broke up again, Dustin.
Oh, there you are.
Did I go on mute, or did I just break up?
You went on mute.
That makes no sense. Anyway, my understanding of the IR spot was like, if you're out at least a couple of weeks. That was my internal thought on it. So, like, not even just 1 week. But like Ron said, it's subjective, but that's why you have a commission there to make those hard decisions, or everyone votes on it.
Right. I guess my argument against keeping questionable players in your IR spot once they're upgraded to questionable is if I have somebody who's questionable in my active roster, I can't move them to the IR spot. So to me, the questionable is being seen as two different things when it shouldn't be. Questionable is questionable across the board. Either you can have questionable in your IR or you cannot. That's my opinion, but obviously, like I said, it's very subjective. And
in this league that we're talking, the Tree Fitty League, my entire team is questionable. Seriously, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people questionable.
Put them all in the hour.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, that's kind of where that's going in the dynasty. If being that the majority of us in this Tree Fitty League is in the this dynasty league, some of y'all may be able to take some things away here since we won't have a podcast for that one. As of right now, until we switch a Tree Fitty League to a Dynasty League, which is probably heading. Kyle doesn't listen to this, so if he does, I hope he finds that and just says he doesn't care, he's down for whatever.
Nope, not happening. Plain white milk.
Yep. So, well, Ryan, before we get out of here, do you have anything else to add? Anything else to say?
Yeah, I haven't gotten my apology from you, and I probably never will, so I'm going to let it go. And thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, man, this is fun. It's what we take away from you, and I think we got the same thing from last year, is that you're the only one that calls in, and it sounds really good when you listen back to it, because it actually sounds, like you're calling in on a hotline. So we appreciate your authenticity of this experience.
Oh yeah, just one more thing. All you listeners out there, remember, you don't always have to be the prettiest girl at the bar. You just have to have a freaking almanac from Back to the Future like Chris brought, and you can win every single fantasy every year.
I was wondering where that was going.
Hey, Lee, here, you got any last words?
I do not. Ryan, I appreciate you coming on. Derek, Dustin, Trevor, appreciate you guys. Good time this week, my friend.
Stranger Danger, you got any error stats corrections?
I do have some stuff to go over here. First off, we had no mission. We didn't address the new engagement. Join me, everyone, in congratulating the BBC, who got engaged to Tabitha this weekend, which also led to Danny changing his name to Property of Tab, established 2015.
And congratulations, brother.
Congratulations.
Which he might listen to this in, like as we've mentioned, in 6-8 weeks, whenever he's taking that marathon dump. Chad, you thought Miami was the worst run defense? Close. They've allowed 435 yards this season on the ground. Derek's boys in Cleveland are a bit worse, allowing 475 yards this season.
Yeah.
Update on Sammy Watkins and his injury. Within the last hour, Rex Ryan has said that he does not expect Watkins to play. And Derek, you mentioned Marcus Wheaton earlier whenever you were talking about D-Rob's team.
Mm-hmm.
He's on Sanjay's team.
Oh, well, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, when the Angels fall, you lose more than you win, but
Yeah.
I digress.
I don't mention them anymore. I had them as my team name, and I quickly changed it.
Facts are optional here,
By the
fellas.
way, I'm proud of my team name for this week, so
That is true. Kudos for that.
yeah, clap to me. But all right, well, if that's it, is that it?
Thank
That
you.
is it.
Fucking Jiminy Cricket. This is not real. Anyways, well, that is our show. Thank you all, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. Thank you for joining us for this podcast. We will be back with you this time next week with possibly a new guest, maybe even a new host, because after this I may just fucking quit. But thank you for joining us, and that is the show. See you when we see you. Y'all need to take the bus, plane, however you got here, and get your asses back home, smoke some dope.